Ladies, young ladies and gentlemen, good evening to everyone. Good evening to all. Once again, you are welcome here on the Tribune for Awakening Consciousness. It has been making international headlines since last night, that is, the evening of March 3rd, 2025. The American president, Donald Trump, after the altercations he had with the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, in the Oval Office, officially signed a decree that halts all military and financial aid from America to Ukraine. This is understandable. It is a decision that follows this altercation. Here is the interpretation that many are giving to this matter. But in the context of this video conference, we will discover together the real reason why Donald Trump signed this decree, the real reason why Donald Trump stopped all financial and military aid, financial military to Ukraine. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to follow this video conference until the end. But before continuing, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. My name is Robert Thea. I'm a professor at the Faculty of Legal and Political Sciences at the largest university in the Republic of Guinea, Conakry. I am the president of the emerging political party called the Citizens Party at the service of the Republic. I am a candidate in the upcoming presidential elections. So share the video conference, give it lots of likes, and above all, subscribe. Let's dive into the depths. The news dropped like a thunderclap, like a sledgehammer last night. You heard it everywhere. The news went viral. American President Donald Trump ordered yesterday, Monday, March 3rd, the suspension of U.S. military aid to Ukraine in the context of the conflict with Russia. After last Friday's altercation with his Ukrainian counterpart, the information is clear. So, following this, the question that arises is why? Is it because of this altercation? Yes, partly. This altercation is part of it. It's a tiny part. But this altercation took place because Europe had already prepared Zelensky's mindset. The Europeans were led by Emmanuel Macron, as well as the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. Both had prepared Zelensky's mindset so that he would be in trouble. On the day of his meeting with Donald Trump, since what Emmanuel Macron experienced in the Oval Office, he wanted to take revenge in another way. That's one. Secondly, Emmanuel Macron wanted to take ownership of the Ukrainian dossier, since Europe has always been sidelined. This way, they can have their share in rare earth elements. That's just a tiny part of the reason for Donald Trump signing this decree. I am gently leading you to the real reason. Don't forget to share. So we saw Vladimir Zelensky, who, after the United States of America, went directly to the United Kingdom. Unfortunately, there was no consensus. In the United Kingdom, with this famous summit that suddenly took place, they did not understand each other. What did they ask for? They proposed a ceasefire, a partial ceasefire, and a ceasefire that would cover a 1-month ceasefire, which should cover air attacks, maritime attacks, and energy attacks. This is the proposal they should validate to present to Vladimir Putin. And according to them, during the London meeting, they needed to propose this to Vladimir Putin, if he accepts, to see how far Vladimir Putin can honor his commitments. If he honors this commitment, the second step would be to move towards a ceasefire for ground combat. But unfortunately, you have the economists, Europeans, who have calculated that all this, for Europe to be able to guarantee its own security and ensure the security of Ukraine, amounted to a tidy sum of 400 billion that the European Union would have to pay. And the European Union does not have this amount. And America has stopped everything. America, at least, was preparing to stop everything. So, given the failure of this summit, Donald Trump, knowing that this is the first reason Donald Trump, knowing that Ukraine necessarily needs help from America or someone, since where Europe beat its chest, Europe could not. Europe failed. Donald Trump sat down. He thought, he's a businessman. A true businessman doesn't have a big heart. He just uses techniques to better strike his opponent and gain many more advantages. Thus, Donald Trump, after discussions with his advisors, returned to better sentiments. He then decided to restart the dialogue with Ukraine. Here is the fundamental reason. Since he saw that Ukraine failed at the level of the United Kingdom of Europe, he decided to restart the dialogue. But to better restart the dialogue between Ukraine and Russia, that is to say, his agreement, his famous peace agreement, he wants to restart. He wants Ukraine to sign. But to better restart, he must be in a true position of strength. And to be in this position of strength, he must lower his heart. He must raise his heart and lower it at the same time. So he must make a very radical decision, which is of nature to compel Ukraine, to compel Zelensky, and to please Russia. Since just yesterday, Russia asked to force Ukraine to move towards peace. This statement from Russia was obviously to boast, but to show that Russia is ready for peace. But in reality, Russia is doing it in the spirit of America, which many did not know. Because Russia knew that America was going to revisit the peace plan that failed, whose negotiation failed last Friday, February 28th, in the Oval Office. So, Russia said to force Ukraine into peace. And it is this coercion that Donald Trump implemented. So, he is implementing this coercion because he has a love for rare earths that are in Ukraine. He knows that if he sets this coercion in motion, Ukraine will not be able to hold on. So Ukraine will be forced, Zelensky will be forced to lower his tension, to listen to him, since he no longer knows which way to turn. Since even the Europeans have told him that he should do his best to understand Donald Trump, Steve K. Starmer himself told him that during the summit in London. So, Donald Trump makes the decision to stop, to suspend, not to stop, because if we suspend, we can resume. If we stop, it's over. But so he suspended, that means he still has an open door. He makes the decision to suspend all American military aid to Ukraine. Zelensky is therefore in shock. He no longer knows which way to turn. He doesn't know what to do. And that's when, a few hours later, to show the goodwill of the United States of America, we have Vice President J. Divins, who comes out and makes a very appealing announcement, which pleases Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine, and even the European Union, which attempted to withdraw. The darling of the United States of America in its hands, that is to say, rare earths. Everything revolves around these rare earths. J. In advance he came out. What did he say? The good news. Please share the video conference. Share it in all possible groups. Check if you are subscribed. If you are not yet subscribed, please subscribe. Share and invite your friends. Put in its place. Here, we provide true, detailed information, which you won't get elsewhere. Jill Evans, he is the Vice President of the United States of America. He was the one sitting next to Donald Trump. They are the two who bombarded Zelensky with questions that confused him. We saw the images on the day of the interview, February 28, 2025, in the Oval Office. So Gilles Evans was very firm. He was very formal. He says Zelensky will eventually accept everything that we want, since we want peace. Zelensky does not want peace. Europe does not want peace. But Europe does not have the means to give peace to Zelensky. Europe also does not have the means to continue the war for Zelensky. So he says this in his speech. Zelensky will eventually participate in peace talks. He will eventually participate in peace talks, firstly. Secondly, Trump will be the first to pick up the phone if Ukraine wants to talk about peace. This means that an invitation is being extended. America is thus inviting Zelensky to call Trump. He will pick up at any moment he wants to come back. He can come back. So we had to let him go see that he has no other cards in his hand except the United States of America. Thirdly, he is at the White House. The Ukrainian leader showed a lack of respect during the meeting with Trump. The latter first suffered for 25 to 30 minutes despite Zelensky's jabs. So it describes how Trump suffered from Zelensky's remarks, etc. Even after the altercation, he suffered for 25 to 30 minutes. But as he is human, he has a good heart. He wants the advent of peace. It is America that extends a hand. If Trump had a bit more respect from Zelensky, so he insisted that the conversations take place in front of the cameras. Then he says this. He says if Zelensky takes matters seriously, then the United States of America is ready to discuss again in the Oval Office. So it's clear that the United States of America is inviting Zelensky back to the Oval Office. After having imposed a sanction, a decision, I was going to say, to suspend American aid to Ukraine, they slip him another banana peel. Why? Because we need those rare earths. We need to satisfy future partners, future allies who happen to be Russia. We need the advent of peace. So Trump wants, in his policy, to demonstrate that he is the one who brought peace to Ukraine. So, he continues. He says that the best security guarantee lies in American economic interests in Ukraine. Yes, it's better than $20,000 from any given country. In other words, America has economic interests. In Ukraine, if that is guaranteed, it is better than Ukraine. Receiving $20,000 or $40,000 from European countries. So it's a way to clash with European countries. He continues, he says a peace agreement on Ukraine will please no one. And everyone will have to make concessions. He continues, he says the Europeans, despite their public support for Ukraine, must privately convince Zelensky of the necessity to end the conflict. Here is what he said in his speech. So, to summarize everything, we understand that America is following a real strategy. It is the strategy of forcing Zelensky to peace, the strategy of obtaining. This mistake, this is what underlies the signing of this decree, which has gone viral, and which in reality does not aim to make Ukraine suffer, but is to impose peace on Ukraine. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here is the whole truth. So thank you for sharing this video conference as much as possible. I will get back to you shortly with new updates. This was the voice of your one and only samurai.